retirement costs are spiraling, and millions of Americans are feeling the pressure. Cities that used to be affordable? Gone. Housing is climbing fast, taxes are tightening, and medical bills are hitting harder than ever. But here's the part almost nobody sees coming. A handful of US cities are still holding the line. Steady prices, predictable healthcare, budgets that actually stretch instead of collapsing. These places are becoming the final safe zones for anyone trying to retire without fear. But they won't stay under the radar for long. Once the migration wave hits, everything changes. Let's break down the 10 cities that still give you a real shot at comfortable retirement. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. There is something unmistakable about a city that refuses to let inflation dictate the fate of people's retirement plans. And Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania is one of the few large American metros still holding its ground. Housing costs here remain steady, medical expenses stay predictable, and essential services avoid the wild price swings hitting so many regions. When you look at the hard numbers, the picture becomes even clearer. Median home prices sit near $238,000, according to recent national listings, and that stability did not arrive by accident. Pittsburgh's hospital network, including the widely respected University of Pittsburgh Medical Center, reports outpatient cost increases of roughly 2% per year, while many Sunbelt cities saw jumps of 8 to 12%. That gap matters because healthcare is the expense most retirees fear will drain their savings. Life in Pittsburgh feels workable. Utilities do not surge without warning. Groceries land below national averages. Insurance premiums shift slower than nearly anywhere along the coast. You can see the impact in everyday math. A fixed income stretches further, and financial shocks arrive less often. That predictability is worth more than sunshine or scenery when retirement is measured year by year. The city also delivers a balance of walkable neighborhoods, reliable transit, and a pace that favors practicality over flash. It is not trying to be the next luxury hotspot, and that restraint protects people who simply want stability. Local property taxes stay manageable, long-term health access remains strong, and the market rarely punishes latecomers. Those are advantages built over decades, not sales pitches crafted overnight. If Pittsburgh stands as the calm counterweight to rising national costs, the next city takes a very different approach, proving that affordability can survive even in regions known for heat, wide-open land, and surprising resilience. It offers lessons for anyone seeking stability without sacrificing practical access to essential daily services and security. Tucson, Arizona. Some cities earn their place on a retirement list by accident, but Tucson, Arizona earns it through restraint, steadiness, and numbers that tell a very different story from the overheated markets around it. While Phoenix exploded with price jumps of 17% in a single year, Tucson moved at a quiet 4%, according to recent national housing reports. That difference is not just statistics, it is the financial breathing room that keeps a fixed income intact. A median home in Tucson commonly sits near $300,000, far below other Sunbelt metros that now push far past $400,000. That gap determines whether savings last 15 years or only 10. Tucson's cost structure reinforces that calm. Utilities trend low because desert infrastructure spreads evenly. Groceries remain stable due to consistent regional supply. Everyday essentials feel predictable, not punishing. HealthView Services reports medical costs in the region landing roughly 40% lower than major California cities. And that single fact changes the entire retirement equation. Unexpected medical bills break more budgets than housing ever will, and Tucson places a buffer between retirees and those shocks. The appeal is not only financial. The city offers spacious landscapes, slower traffic, and a pace that encourages living, not scrambling. Local taxes stay controlled. Property insurance avoids the heavy spikes seen in coastal regions. Even neighborhood development follows a measured pattern, avoiding the rapid, chaotic growth that often pushes out long-time residents. Tucson proves you can have warmth, mountains, and wide skies without surrendering your wallet to inflated markets. It is a place where long days feel steady and affordable, where costs move carefully, and where the math aligns with real life instead of financial fantasy. As Tucson settles into its role as the Sun Belt's steady anchor, the next city shows how affordability can grow in the shadow of powerful industries, offering stability born from economic balance rather than sheer geography. Before we continue, take a moment to like this video and subscribe so you never miss these breakdowns, and share your thoughts below. Your experiences and insights help shape which cities we investigate next and what financial details deserve deeper attention. Huntsville, Alabama. In a region known for volatility, this community stands out by keeping its numbers grounded year after year. It comes from a city refusing to lose control of its costs, while the rest of the country chases inflated trends. What sets Huntsville apart is the long economic backbone created by aerospace, defense, and research work that has kept the region grounded for more than 7 decades. When national housing markets jumped without warning, Huntsville moved only as fast as the local economy could justify. That restraint matters. Median home prices typically sit near $309,000, according to recent housing indexes. And those increases arrive in measured steps rather than sudden jumps designed to squeeze newcomers. Predictable market is not glamorous, but it is reliable. Monthly expenses follow the same steady pattern. The cost of living index places Huntsville roughly 12% below the national average, and that number carries real weight for anyone living on structured income. Utilities stay reasonable. Property taxes remain low. Essentials track closely to long-term historical averages instead of spiking with every national headline. This is a city that reinvests in infrastructure and services without putting a heavier burden on residents. Medical access adds another layer of reassurance. Huntsville Hospital System and surrounding clinics provide strong coverage across the region, with costs consistently trailing the rising figures seen in the Sun Belt. Predictability here is not a slogan. It is the pattern that defines the area. Life in Huntsville feels controlled, organized, and practical, shaped by industries that reward long planning horizons rather than short bursts of speculation. Streets remain manageable, neighborhoods stay stable, and the pressure to upgrade constantly never takes root. As Huntsville proves how disciplined growth protects retirement income, the next city demonstrates how undervalued housing can still carve out opportunity in a world driven by speculation. Its measured pace offers retirees long-term security and shields savings from the unpredictable swings other markets face. Fort Wayne, Indiana. Not every city joins the race to inflate prices. Some hold their ground, and this one holds it better than most. It does not chase inflated growth. It does not push newcomers into bidding wars. Instead, it moves with the kind of steady, deliberate pace that protects long-term affordability. When analysts describe Fort Wayne as undervalued by nearly 18%, based on CoreLogic reporting, that number is not an exaggeration. It is a financial marker showing how far this city sits from the overheated markets dominating national discussions. Median homes here commonly land near $220,000, a figure that feels almost old-fashioned in a world pushing toward $500,000 listings. Everyday costs reflect the same grounded structure. Insurance premiums trend low because storm exposure is minimal. Utilities remain predictable due to stable regional demand. Groceries stay aligned with long-term averages instead of rising with coastal volatility. The city functions on a foundation built over decades, not on speculation or short-term booms. For anyone relying on careful budgeting, that steadiness brings real security. Medical access is another advantage, delivered through local hospital networks that maintain reasonable pricing without sacrificing quality. Larger Midwestern metros often struggle with congestion and rising care bills, but Fort Wayne keeps both under control. Appointments tend to be accessible, costs tend to be manageable. Surprise spikes rarely appear. That level of predictability affects retirement planning far more than people realize. The rhythm of daily life adds to the financial comfort. Traffic is light, neighborhoods are calm, Upkeep costs on homes stay moderate because harsh weather does not punish structures the way it does in northern or coastal regions. Even entertainment and dining prices resist inflation's faster climbs. Fort Wayne succeeds by staying practical, measured, and grounded in real economic behavior. It offers affordability without compromise and stability without stagnation. And as the city demonstrates how undervaluation can be a genuine strength, the path forward leads to a place where growth and affordability fuse in a more modern, energetic way, creating a different kind of opportunity for those seeking a balanced and secure retirement. Greenville, South Carolina. Picture a place upgrading its streets, its skyline, and its services, yet keeping costs within reach. This is that place. It is unusual to find a place that expands its downtown, modernizes its infrastructure, improves transportation, and still refuses to let housing drift into unaffordable territory. Yet Greenville manages exactly that. Over the past decade, the population rose by more than 38,000 people. And instead of spiraling into inflated pricing, the city kept a firm grip on its cost structure. Median homes generally settle near $330,000, a figure that reflects improvement without excess. That balance is rare, and it is one of the clearest signs of a healthy, disciplined market. Daily expenses reinforce the stability. Local groceries trend below national averages due to consistent regional supply. Utilities remain manageable because the climate avoids extreme temperature swings found in harsher regions. Even transportation costs feel lighter, with walkable districts and compact neighborhoods reducing the constant drain of long commutes. These are not small savings. They add up year after year, quietly protecting retirement income from slow erosion. Medical access is another point in Greenville's favor. The area offers strong hospital networks and clinics, with wait times shorter than those in larger southern metros. Healthcare costs, according to regional assessments, remain meaningfully below the spikes seen in booming coastal markets. For anyone prioritizing predictable medical expenses, that difference can determine whether a fixed income feels tight or comfortable. Greenville also brings a sense of livability that does not demand luxury-level spending. Streets feel accessible. Parks and trails give the area genuine breathing room. Restaurants offer variety without inflated pricing. The city never pretends to be something extravagant. Instead, it focuses on quality that remains reachable. Greenville proves that a city can grow intelligently, protect affordability, and keep long-term residents from being squeezed out. And as this balanced southern hub shows how thoughtful planning safeguards retirement stability, the next location reveals how tax advantages and mountain surroundings work together to strengthen a household's financial footing in a different but equally meaningful way. Knoxville, Tennessee. Tax policy rarely decides a city's future, but here it shaped an entire retirement-friendly ecosystem. It begins with something simple but powerful. The state takes $0 in income tax, and that immediately changes how long savings last. The absence of that yearly drain creates breathing room, especially for anyone relying on pensions, Social Security benefits, or structured withdrawals. But Knoxville does not rely on tax policy alone. It reinforces that advantage with a cost structure that refuses to drift into the inflated territory seen in so many fast-growing regions. Median homes commonly settle near $320,000, according to regional listing reports, and that number has risen at a slower pace than in most southern metros. Property taxes remain modest. Utilities stay predictable thanks to a comfortable climate that avoids extreme heat or brutal winters. Even transportation costs remain reasonable, with a layout that reduces the constant fuel spending found in sprawling cities. Medical access is another pillar of Knoxville's strength. The city supports a broad hospital network with competitive pricing and shorter wait times than many major markets. Regional health assessments show costs consistently below national spikes, particularly in outpatient care and routine treatment. That reliability matters more in retirement than almost anything else. Unexpected medical bills can break careful financial planning, and Knoxville softens that risk. Daily life adds its own form of stability. The Smoky Mountain backdrop creates a slower, grounded rhythm. Neighborhoods feel lived in and consistent. Markets, restaurants, and small businesses keep prices within reach, rather than chasing high-end trends. Knoxville does not pretend to be a luxury destination. Its value comes from being a place where life remains manageable. Knoxville proves that long-term affordability can survive growth, especially when reinforced by low taxes, steady pricing, and dependable medical access. And as this mountain-framed city shows how policy and practicality work together, the next destination uses a different advantage altogether: a reputation for stability built across decades of predictable economic behavior that continues to protect retirees from volatile national swings. Des Moines, Iowa. Predictability is rare in modern markets, yet this city delivers it in everything from housing to healthcare. While other regions chased rapid spikes, Des Moines kept its footing steady. Median home prices generally fall between $210,000 and $260,000, according to regional listing reports, and those values have risen at a controlled pace instead of the sudden jumps that push fixed incomes to the edge. That measured growth creates a level of predictability that retirees rarely find, especially in fast-changing metros. Stability is not a marketing phrase here. It is the defining characteristic of the entire market. Everyday expenses reinforce that steadiness. Grocery costs land around 7% below the national average, supported by consistent regional supply lines and modest transportation demands. Utilities remain manageable because the climate avoids extreme heat or deep winter cold. Insurance premiums stay grounded due to low storm exposure and a long record of limited natural disaster claims. These small but consistent savings shape a retirement budget that lasts longer than most large metros allow. Nothing in Des Moines moves with the violent swings that drain wallets elsewhere, and that slow rhythm gives residents room to plan long-term. Healthcare access strengthens the picture even further. Several respected hospital systems operate here, offering dependable service and pricing that often falls meaningfully below inflated coastal markets. Routine care, diagnostic testing, and outpatient treatment follow predictable ranges that do not ambush residents with sudden costs. For anyone managing retirement savings carefully, that reliability removes one of the biggest financial risks they face as they age. Life in Des Moines carries a practicality that supports those numbers. Commute times stay short, neighborhoods feel established, and essential services rarely pressure households with inflated fees. The city's economy does not rely on tourism booms or speculative growth, and that independence shields residents from shocks. It is a place built on moderation, not volatility. If you want the full picture on affordable retirement cities and future shifts that could impact your savings, make sure you subscribe. Every upcoming breakdown explains the numbers clearly, shows the evidence, and helps you make stronger decisions before the next changes arrive. Pensacola, Florida. Most Florida shores push retirees to the limit. This one pulls back and gives them room to breathe. While Miami, Tampa, and Sarasota absorbed insurance hikes that doubled within 1 year, Pensacola held its increases in the single-digit range, according to statewide filings. That stability alone places Pensacola in rare company. Median home prices hover near $301,000, based on recent listing data, a figure that still allows retirees to buy without surrendering decades of savings. In a state where coastal living often demands $500,000 or more, Pensacola stands as one of the final reachable entries along the Gulf. Daily costs support the same sense of control. Groceries track near national averages. Utilities stay moderate thanks to consistent infrastructure and manageable climate patterns. Transportation costs remain predictable, with shorter commute distances and a street layout that avoids the endless congestion common in southern Florida metros. These savings do not shout, but they add up month after month, quietly extending the life of a fixed income. Pensacola's healthcare options offer competitive pricing and dependable service through both military and civilian systems, with steady emergency response and accessible appointments that reduce financial uncertainty. Its atmosphere adds another advantage: calm beaches, lived-in neighborhoods, and a practical pace where tourism supports, rather than distorts the economy, keeping daily costs stable instead of swinging with seasonal surges. Pensacola shows that coastal retirement does not have to demand financial sacrifice. It offers sun, water, and steady living without the punishing premiums surrounding it. And as this Gulf Coast refugee reveals how controlled insurance and practical pricing can still align, the next city shifts the conversation inland, proving that long-term stability often comes from regions built on decades of consistent economic behavior rather than shoreline appeal. Omaha, Nebraska. If healthcare costs determine the true safety of a retirement plan, then this city becomes almost unbeatable. It begins with healthcare, the cost that quietly determines whether retirement savings last or evaporate. According to the widely cited HealthView Services assessment, medical expenses in Omaha land between 20 and 32% lower than those in major coastal states. That gap is not theoretical. It shows up in every prescription, every routine visit, and every outpatient procedure, turning Omaha into one of the strongest financial environments for long-term living. Housing supports that stability with the same steady rhythm. Median home prices commonly settle near $285,000 based on regional listing data, and these values grow at controlled rates rather than the sudden surges seen across Sunbelt and mountain cities. Property taxes remain moderate. Insurance avoids the spikes connected to hurricanes, wildfires, or coastal flooding. And because the region faces fewer severe storms, long-term maintenance costs on homes stay lower than in places constantly battling harsh weather. Daily life reinforces the sense of financial control. Groceries trend close to national averages. Utilities track predictably due to a balanced climate that lacks both desert extremes and oceanside humidity. Transportation stays affordable thanks to short commutes and a layout that reduces fuel consumption. Nothing here pushes a household into sudden, painful spending. Omaha's character strengthens its financial appeal, built on practical energy and decades of steady economic behavior. Established neighborhoods and consistent services keep costs stable, while local businesses anchor the rhythm. Strong healthcare access, predictable housing, and everyday affordability create a durable environment where savings stretch further without unnecessary pressure today. And as this Midwestern stronghold demonstrates how consistency protects retirement income, the final city on this list reveals how below-average costs across every major category can create an environment where long-term financial security becomes more than a possibility. It becomes the norm. Tulsa, Oklahoma. Most markets excel in one category. Rarely does a city excel in all of them. This one does. What separates Tulsa from so many rising markets is the simple reality that every major cost category remains below the national average at the same time. Housing leads that list. Median home prices commonly fall near $210,000, based on regional listing reports, and that figure has resisted the runaway inflation affecting Sunbelt and coastal markets. Utilities strengthen the picture with rates roughly 18% lower than national norms, a difference that compounds month after month for anyone living on structured income. Daily expenses continue the pattern. Groceries track near long-term averages. Transportation costs stay grounded due to short commutes, and insurance premiums avoid the violent swings tied to hurricanes, wildfires, and coastal flooding. These consistent savings do not arrive through luck. They come from geography, planning, and a measured pace of growth that refuses to burden residents with unnecessary strain. Tulsa's medical network adds another layer of stability. Regional health assessments show outpatient and routine care pricing meaningfully below the spikes seen in many major American metros. Appointment access tends to remain steady, and billing rarely surprises households with unpredictable jumps. For retirees, that reliability is more valuable than amenities or spectacle. The character of the city mirrors its numbers, with steady neighborhoods, manageable streets, and a practical rhythm that prioritizes real affordability. Tulsa keeps housing low, utilities controlled, transportation reasonable, and medical access stable, creating a balanced environment where long-term financial security becomes an expected outcome for every resident who stays. And that's our breakdown of the 10 cities where retirement is still actually affordable. But this landscape's changing fast, so stay ahead of it. Hit like if this helped, drop a comment with the city you choose, and subscribe for more breakdowns just like this.